Welcome to the channel. My name is Andrew, and today we're going to do some excavating. We got a Sany SY35U that we picked up earlier this year, a couple months ago. A couple things we have to do today. We're going to be pulling some trees out of the ground, and we're approaching our 50-hour oil change. So we're going to do that today. We're at 46 hours as of yesterday, and then we need to top off the fuel. So there's a 5-gallon fuel can here. These are my favorite kind. I ordered a couple of these out of Canada, and back then, this was like 2014, they would still export them to the US, but since then they won't even ship to the US, so all because they're not DOT compliant. But I got my hands on a couple of them before you couldn't anymore, so let's go fill up this excavator, do some excavating, change some oil, and then we can talk about that Sany a little bit, because it's a pretty nice machine. Let's get to it. I ordered these things from, it was a surplus store up in Canada. I think it was early 2014, and they shipped them into the US. No questions asked, but I went back on this year to try and order a few more because I like them so much. And they wouldn't export them to the US anymore, so what I've got is what I've got. This thing will run a full day. I put 5 gallons in yesterday morning, and it was just starting to get into the about a quarter of a tank. 5 gallons pretty much filled it up, and it ran all day on those 5 gallons. So it's a pretty efficient machine. It's like 24 horsepower. One of the great things about these cans, other than being super robust and obviously proven around the world, they've got a breather tube built into them, and they breathe through the holes in this. So it's like those race cans almost. Probably not quite as good as those race cans, but the ones you can just turn upside down and they just dump like 5 gallons of fuel in a couple of seconds. But it's the next best thing, and I think these are a lot more robust than those cans are. They stack well, but you can't get them anymore. So I need to find a better solution for the old adjustable wrench, because right now it lives on my floor and I'm just waiting for the day where it goes through the glass. But that's in here because this is a aftermarket, comes from ProSource Machinery. That's who I bought the excavator from, and I had them add on their quick coupler. Quick, it's a relative term. to swap out buckets on this thing. It's a lot easier than having to pull pins and align pins, but it's just a couple of hooks that grab onto these bucket pins, and then this thing, you got to loosen up this nut, which lets this wedge out, which lets this lever that captures this rear pin kind of rotate. So it's, I wouldn't call it quick, but it's probably quicker than sitting here trying to align pins on a 200-pound bucket. This bucket's probably not so heavy, but the 36-inch grading bucket is quite a bit larger. And these are built quite well. I mean, you can see that's some thick steel. But anyway, so this thumb here, very nicely built. Again, really thick. It's aftermarket from Pro Source Machinery. And no fault of anyone's. I put a lot of stress on my hydraulic hoses, which is why the skid steer is currently... Not the skid steer, it's not the skid steer that's down, but the grapple bucket's down. So as you rip stuff up today, we're gonna have to leave it lay like you see over here. We've cleared all the way back because I'm working on the hydraulic hoses right now for the grapple. My window of opportunity to burn stuff is pretty small, be it with time off. And it's not that I need like a day off. When you light these piles, you're gonna need like several days off because they're gonna take a while to burn, and I'm not willing to leave them out here unattended. So when I light these piles, I'm going to be stuck out here for a couple days. It's not a bad thing. Back to the hydraulics. I keep pulling on these lines and they keep loosening themselves up, so I just carry the adjustable in the tractor now. So I'll see it start squirting hydraulic fluid, which leads to the collection of all this dust and dirt down here. I'll just jump out and tighten it down. So we need a better solution for that adjustable wrench. We didn't bring any snacks or drinks, so I'm gonna run and grab a drink real quick, because if there's one thing that excavating does is make me thirsty. I'll be back. Pick up these trees, you'll see sometimes I'm leaving a lot of dirt on the root system, which isn't ideal for burning, and it's displacing the soil. Now we're going to have all these little holes everywhere, but it's not something that I'm worried about because we're dropping these trees on these piles out here, and then from here the skid steer with that grapple is going to pick them up, and they'll get shaken through that process. So the dirt's going to end up falling off the roots between here and the burn pile. And then we have an 8-foot box blade for the back of that John Deere tractor that I was driving earlier. And this whole area here was clear cut between 5 and 7 years ago. So it's all going to have to be drug out anyway because there's a bunch of ruts from the tractors they used. So I'm not worried about these little holes that we're creating. look like little trees, but you'd be impressed by these root systems that these things have. Mobile oil change. All right, so we have the oil filter right there, pretty easily accessible. Got our oil fill right here, which as long as you have a funnel, should be easily accessible. And then down here in that hole right there, we have our oil drain. So we got our pan set up underneath the engine here, and we're gonna open her up and let her drain. And today it's a 3/4. Because that's what I have most other days. I'd guess it's a 19 mil. And we're not going to do this without getting messy, unfortunately. And we should have opened up the fill. Let her breathe. Look at that. Should be just shy of 2 gallons, like 1.8. And this is our first oil change. Now we're going to move this drain pan before we start messing with that plug, so I don't have to go fishing in 2 gallons of oil to find my drain plug when I inevitably drop it. Check out this filter. People always over tighten the filters. Doesn't need more than a hand tight. Let's see how the factory did. Yep. Oh, come on. Did it really have to be that tight? That was ridiculous. That was absolutely ridiculous. Now, if I had brought a Sharpie, write the date and the hours on this, but I'll just have to remember it and bring a Sharpie next time. Promise you that won't leak. It's good for the laundry. Yeah, it looks like we're pretty good there. So nobody can steal the engine. if you can tell what that is in this low light, but that is a way down the road project for a piece of equipment we're gonna have on the property out here. It's a big 6x6 FMTV, military surplus vehicle, that my brother got at auction, got it sent out here so I can go through it. But that's a future video. But that is pretty much what I'm up to these days. Not a whole lot of time to fabricate. I'm still working on the Gator. It's in the process of getting a new engine, but the route I decided to go with that isn't as simple as just dropping something in that lines up and putting it out the garage. So there's still a couple projects in the work, but right now my focus is getting land cleared out there. So I have a very small burn window. State of Virginia, starting in February of every year, goes to like, I think, April. You're limited to burning between 4 p.m. and 2 a.m. So your size of your fire is gonna have to be a lot smaller. And my time off is limited after the holidays, so I need to try and get all this stuff burned down before the start of the new year. But I hope you guys enjoyed some of that, riding along in the excavator and just kind of see what's going on. Stay tuned for more, I guess, land clearing, which is going to be a lot of what I'll be doing here in the near future, but also a couple other projects that we'll work on. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good one.